Okay, so we are live, and thank you so much, Fikri, for joining us. We have the wonderful, very handsome Fikri here with us. He is. I'll let him introduce himself, but before that, if you want to make any comments, make sure to allow StreamYard to access your Facebook. Just give them permission so you can write some comments. And if you're watching this right now, when you're watching this, please drop a hashtag, replay down below if you're watching it on replay. If you're watching this right now with us, hey, just drop a like, say hello to Fikri, give him some support because he's here, wanting to share his story, and it's very, very exciting what he's managed to accomplish. Yeah. So Fikri, please introduce yourself.
Oh, hi. So my name is Fikri. As the title suggests, I'm a lawyer for 5 years already, and I
Mm.
deal with primarily disputes. In short, I'm a lawyer who goes to court. And from time to time, I deal with some urgent applications, and that means that I have to drop everything that I have on my plate, even the work that I'm working on right now, and deal with all other matters. And that can actually mean that I work either on weekends or I might actually work for extended hours after work. Also, the title says I'm a cat daddy. I mean, I'm a owner of another cat. I mean, there's so many ways of saying cat parent, but it's trend now to say cat daddy. The thing about my cat is that he likes to go for walks, which is very strange because other cats just like confining themselves itself to the house. But for me, my cat whines and whines until he gets to actually go to the park, which is actually good for me because I can actually accumulate my steps lah on my Apple Watch.
And just get out of the house, right? Just kind of take a quick break from
Yeah,
work.
especially
Yeah.
like after you have DOMS, delayed onset of muscle soreness, that is very, very good. So sometimes he makes me
Yes.
climb up the stairs and down the stairs, and yeah, yeah. So
so so
yeah,
wait,
he
so you have
helping me.
this like really busy schedule, right? And obviously being a lawyer, it's very stressful. It's a high octane environment. Going in there, setting disputes and stuff. How was that? Like kind of affecting you, and what were you kind of struggling with prior to seeking help with us?
I I think I want to talk about my back pain because that
Oh
actually
yes.
also affects the work that I'm actually having right now, uh,
Mm.
on a day-to-day basis. So I think Twin, as you have known me, I think you already know that I have back pain. I have scoliosis for the longest time since I was a teenager, and actually the scoliosis did not present any major issues other than subtle posture irregularities. My It's actually like S curve for me.
Okay.
So it didn't really present that much of a problem until maybe in 2021, whereby I woke up one day and I'm not able to move, and that was actually quite scary as shit
Oh.
because
Wow.
once you cannot move, it just came out of nowhere because the days prior to it there was no signs of pain, no signs of slowing down in or any sign of cracking in any parts of my vertebrae. So
Mm.
I couldn't stand, I couldn't walk one day, and I had to be
Yeah.
I had to rush to the emergency services. Um, so I remember trying to roll out of bed and trying to get my family members and to actually assist me all the way to the door, get a grab and go to the hospital. Yeah, so they did all sorts of checks on me just to ensure that I do not have any other um, underlying um, underlying conditions.
Yeah.
And I remember they suspected I had a condition called ankylosing spondylosis, which
I'm
is
like this. Yeah.
autoimmune condition, and I think this is quite justified because my mom has autoimmune. So fast
Mm.
forward a few months and a few tests, it shows that I have a herniated disc, and certain parts of my vertebrae were kind of fused together,
Mm.
and yeah, so there was a lot of immobility at my lower back region, and it was quite depressing at that point of time. I
Gotcha.
was put
Gotcha.
on physiotherapy for a few months. I was advised to put on heavy loads for quite some time, which are also quite depressing because prior to COVID, I was actually quite consistent at the gym and I actually wanted to load up a lot more. So
Yeah.
for at least for 1.5 years, I couldn't even go to the gym except for doing very, very light exercises. A lot of physiotherapy, a lot of pain management, and I was referred to one of the hospital for acupuncture. I had to
Okay.
do, I think, at least no less than 10 to 12 sessions of acupuncture at the lower back region. Yeah.
Got it. Got it. So you're experiencing this really intense lower back pain out of nowhere. I mean, you had this underlying scoliosis issues, then suddenly you had this really debilitating back pain, and then it was, it took away your ability to go to the gym. You had to kind of rehab your way in. So when you approached this, like, what was your state? What was your mental state at that point? How was it affecting you, and what were you mainly struggling with then?
Yeah, but before that, on top of that, my work was already quite stressful. So I was
Mm,
going through a huge period of, okay, I won't say mental depression because depression is a condition in itself and you need to seek medical help. But mood wise, I was quite depressed for quite a significant length of time.
okay.
Imagine waking up one day and then you realize that you cannot walk, and over the next few weeks, the pain remain intense.
Yeah.
And even if you don't actually do much, you can still feel like vestiges of the pain. Then, of course, like for a period of time, you feel very frustrated. And I think the when I actually approached you, one of the things that I actually wanted to achieve was to actually get over feeling this depressed
Hmm.
because I was and the depression, right, actually stems from for many reasons. One of it being in denial that for a very long time I thought my core was very good. I had no issues bending or squatting, and I was exercising quite a fair bit during COVID, especially when you can't actually go to the gym. So I actually ran a lot, and for quite a period of time I thought I was physically quite fit lah. Yeah.
Got it. Got it. So, so I guess maybe, I mean, the condition itself seems like it really affected everything for you. And I mean, having started working with us, you work with Kang, who is the in-person coach for, our hybrid coaching. You achieve honestly pretty good results. And every time he sends me, like he sends me little telegrams and stuff where he tells me, hey, Fikri is here, he's training now and stuff like this. You put on 5 kilos, like all
Yeah.
pretty lean. Your conditioning is still pretty good, and more importantly, you actually lost some like 2 inches off your waist. So that means you kind of lost some fat as well. These results obviously are really really awesome. But what has that done for you? I think, considering what you just mentioned about your mental state before.
Mm. As regards mental state, right, I think when I approach you, I wasn't really a beginner at the gym, but when I approached you and Kang, one thing I actually want to overcome was the fear of pain.
Hmm.
That is something new I had to experience. I had to experience trying to work out without the thought of pain triggering. Actually, the pain does trigger at certain angles.
Yeah.
Um, so when I had the consultation with Kang, I think this was at a period of time whereby I think the pain has substantially already decreased.
Hmm.
But I felt that I needed another pair of eyes to actually watch me do my form. It's a bit weird because I knew the form, but because of this new condition that I have, I need to restart from the beginning to ensure that I am able to do certain basic things differently because of the things I'm actually experiencing right now.
Yep.
So, yeah, to answer your question, I thought that okay, my mood has improved. I had a better physique because I think prior to COVID and after a long hiatus of actually not working out,
Yep.
I was putting a lot of fats on my face, on my belly. Then a lot of people commented that I actually am growing a double chin. I felt very can you
Yeah.
stop commenting on my face? Yeah,
Yeah.
so I was quite dissatisfied with how I look lah. Yeah.
Got it. Got it. Yeah, and I think overcoming this pain part, right? Like you mentioned, is really the biggest thing there in the gym. Obviously, the change, the physical change, is very validating, and I'm sure many people have kind of told you, right? Like that you have kind of beefed up in the correct areas. More
Yeah.
importantly, getting out of that skinny fat zone, it's always a challenge. But I think I want to go back to the pain part. How did you find like the instruction, from Kang, and like how did he help you kind of overcome this barrier then? I think that'll be interesting to understand.
Hmm. I think for me, the first step in approaching the pain or the first step in approaching the exercise is to trust the process and to trust Kang as well. For
Mm,
me, I approach it from a position of trust. So even if there's a pain that might ensue during a certain workout at a certain angle, um, And if that happens, then I'll just let him know, which is actually quite fine because we can now switch up to a different exercise, which actually minimizes the pain. Fortunately, I don't have to do this quite often because at the point of time I was going in, not only going in blind, but going in trusting the process that much. So because I know you for quite some time, and after a few sessions with Kang, that I think the level of trust I have with him is actually quite high. And
Yeah.
from what he's actually telling me, and from what he's actually demonstrating, that is actually a lot of he sounds very experienced, and he
Yeah.
sounds like he has actually advised a wide range of people with all sorts of problems. So I didn't really have any problems trusting anyone. Yeah.
Yeah.
The second
That's
aspect of pain is that to mentally realize that it's inevitably going to happen anyway. So why not just do it? And if it comes, then you just deal with it at the later stage. Because most of my part, or most of my barrier to gym after getting the herniated disc, right, was this hesitance. Like, what if this and that happen? And the anxiety is because of the fear of the unknown in the future. Like, what if I have actually rushed to a A&E again? A lot of people ask me, is it really wise to actually put on heavy loads? I think even what the physiotherapist said to me, that it's actually an even more so point, because if you do not have those muscles to actually support that area, you'll be compromised in some other way, and that would not be good, because in the long run, you have further posture problems,
yeah.
among other problems that we should face lah. So I guess when I went in, I already had the mentality that, okay, there is going to be pain anyway, so just live with it. Yeah, so
Right.
it's actually a process for me to actually accept that the pain is always going to be, I won't say it's always going to be there, but it might occur. And trust yourself that your body isn't that fragile. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I think that's really awesome to hear. I mean, like trusting that the body can be very resilient is one thing, right? Like a big change in the mental
Mm.
framing. The other one also is about the pain, right? How we deal with it. And I'm sure at this point you can also kind of differentiate between like the good pain and bad pain, so to speak, where there's when you do the exercise, and then there's like the burn in the muscle, the kind of pain that we experience. We know, okay, that's not that's what we want, right? That's the intent of it. But as opposed to like a joint pain, something really acute and sharp. So I guess you kind of learn that through the process, which is really really awesome. But one of the things that you've managed to achieve is actually putting on this kind of lean bulk, right? And
Yeah.
I think given that you have such a high intense job, and also you at one point during the training process you had to undergo Ramadan, with all the fasting and all.
Oh,
Could you share a
yeah,
bit
yeah.
more about yeah? Could you share a bit more about like how that worked for you? What do you think worked really well, and maybe even some tips on how you managed to achieve what you did?
I think Ramadan this year was quite intense because it came at a period whereby the work was piling up, and I was actually working quite early in the morning to actually clear a lot of work, just to ensure that I can actually have a peace of mind when I leave work. But that didn't happen because the work still continues to pile up. As for as Okay, I think everyone knows that, or at least for those people who don't know, I'm actually Muslim. So for every Ramadan, you have to fast for a period of 30 days, 31 days, depending on the time, depending on the month for that year.
Yeah.
And for that, you have to actually eat your pre-dawn meal and your breakfast meal. And for that, so ordinarily for me, I usually lose 4 kg every Ramadan, which is of course easily gained back. I mean, a portion of it is water weight, but mostly also fats lah. Um, Ramadan is actually quite intense for this time around, because not because of the hunger, but because the goal for me was to bulk. Like, are you kidding me? You're asking me to
Yeah.
bulk when I'm having Ramadan? I have to, like, I find alternative ways to actually eat. Like,
Yeah.
okay, I know I have certain proclivities. I hate eating chicken breast, because of my method of cooking chicken breast more than 5 years ago. I mean, I'm starting to like it again, but for a different reason. I have to choose a different kind of protein, a diverse kind of protein over the next 30 days. I have to I have to drink some shakes here and there, and I have to actually spread out the meals after I break fast.
Mm.
So the main challenge for me, right, was that after I break fast, I have less than 30 minutes to actually have my gym session with Kang. And before he gaslight me, I need to actually gain as much energy to actually push forth. And he actually did it. He actually gaslighted me. Actually, I pushed my limits, and that was actually um quite quite unexpected for me lah. And I think I'm standing to say this, coming from a person who had a lot of pain, intense pain for at least like half a year, that the human body is not that fragile lah. I am able to actually push forth with significantly higher loads than before, and at a period of time where I can't eat, I can't drink, and I have to actually put in a lot of calories just before I start my gym sessions. And sometimes it actually ended at 9 p.m. Just to go back to my house, it's an 1 hour journey back from my workplace to my house. Fortunately, the workplace is near to Kang's
The
gym
gym.
place.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it's really really intense because I had no, I won't say I had no time for myself, but my entertainment time for myself was actually quite limited lah. But then again, my entertainment time for Ramadan was actually gymming with Kang because he keeps gaslighting me. So I was like, "Are you sure this is the weight for me?" So never mind, just do it. Yeah.
And that actually highlights another thing that's really important, right? I mean, I know when you say gaslight, everybody would think, oh shit, gaslighting is such a terrible thing. But in this case, I mean, you're using it in a more humorous way where
Mhm.
it really just illustrates the good relationship that you build, the trust you built with Kang, and how he's able to push you without making it a very terrible experience, right? Um,
Mm, yeah.
yeah.
I think gaslighting your body can be a good thing if
Mm,
it is actually, I mean, if you actually put your mind to it, you can actually uh, gain certain gains lah.
yeah.
I mean, of course, your body is not conscious. It's not a piece of
It's not
uh,
sentient in that sense,
not
lah.
sentient
Yeah.
enough to actually think about things. But once you actually put certain once you actually change up your routine, right? I mean, I would
Mm,
call it gaslighting your body because your body doesn't know what's happening to it, and then it just has to deal with it at that point of time. So it's just telling your body, don't think, just do.
yeah.
So
And, and
yeah.
and and that really illustrates like you were really pushing yourself, right? Pushing your limits in that sense. Which
Mm,
is probably one of the biggest learning points here in terms of like putting on actual mass, and not just like putting on mass getting fat, right? But putting on actual muscle means you need to push your body to trigger it to actually need to grow some muscle, right?
yeah.
It's essentially what you did. And then of course on the other side, which you mentioned about as well, is that you had to fit in a lot more food to make sure that your body had all the materials necessary to actually build up this muscle. Yeah. So
Mm,
obviously not the easiest experience, but then again, if it were easy, hey, you would have done it easily on your own, and also everybody else would easily do it. um, so really, really good stuff there. I think you put in such a lot of good legwork for it. Now, I guess if you had to highlight what your biggest learning experience is from the whole experience, what would it be at this point?
I think I already spoke about how I was capable of pushing my limits when the time was tough. I mean, that was Ramadan.
Yep.
But I think the more important realization for me is just because I'm doing something small is not insignificant as long as
Okay.
it's sustainable. Just to illustrate, like for
Yep.
example, there are certain days that I really, really cannot enter the gym, and I at least made time to actually enter the gym, but I only had to do a 20-minute session or a 30-minute session. So for me, I think the biggest realization is that just because I cut the amount of time for gymming does not mean that my health is any less of a priority. In fact, it actually shows that I am prioritizing it even much more. So I think prior to this, I was thinking like, I had to gym 3 times a week because of all the kind of information that is thrown around by fitness influencers who most of their career has to do with fitness. But my career does not deal with fitness. My career does with law and dealing with a lot of clients. So I guess for me, this is actually quite an important realization that allows me to live my life a lot more sustainably.
Yeah.
I think this is kind of applicable to many other people as well, especially in Singapore, where whenever I step into Raffles Place, I see everyone just rushing to their offices, rushing for lunch, and rushing back to their own offices to actually complete to work for the day and yeah, return to their own ordinary lives. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
And I guess maybe that's like, how would you say then that the program experience kind of helped you, or even maybe surpassed any of your expectations in this sense?
I want to preface by saying that how one wishes to progress is entirely up to them. But the most important thing for me, which I actually told you and Kang, is that in the short term, I really, really want to live life without pain. And I really did it for the major part of this year. I didn't feel that much pain as opposed to last year. Last year was actually quite intense, and it was quite horrible lah. And it really surpassed my expectations, because ordinarily what I actually take to do in 1.5 hours, I can actually do it in one. I was able to put in a lot of workouts efficiently within 1 hour, and physically wise, I think the recovery time was faster, which is actually a lot more satisfying for me lah. Yeah, so having, I think this is a bit underrated, but having a workout that is a lot more efficient is actually quite important for a lot of us busy and professionals. Like, you don't have a lot of time to waste during our day. And of course, gym, while albeit being very important, it's not the most important thing, because a lot of people have their families. A lot of people have, I mean, I have my cat, I have to go back and feed, and I take her out for a walk. So this is part of life. I mean, I'm not saying that this is not important. I'm saying that how one structure your workout is actually, you need to actually find ways to actually structure your workout to actually able to program it sustainably lah. In other words, I was only going in for like 20-30 minute sessions every day or every other day, and then maybe push one very intense workout with Kang. That was my experience in the past few months. Yeah. So from the beginning of the program, I was actually intensively gymming like 3 times a week. I cut down to 2 sessions with Kang, and then down to 1, because I was able to do a lot of things independently. Of course, with his guidance, with his infinite wisdom. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think what you just illustrated there was that whole journey of starting off first. Yes, you see the trainer a bit more, but then after that, our job as a trainer is essentially to equip you with all the skills so that you know how to continuously do it right for the rest of your life and do it correctly. So really, really happy to hear that. Maybe just a quick question on this then. In terms of the way that the program was organized for you, this was like the hybrid coaching program, right? Which is not just the in-person sessions, but you mentioned some guidance from Kang as well. Maybe you could share a bit more about the out of session support as well. How do you find that, and like what do you like most about that?
I think what I was quite impressed of was the calorie tracking with Fit for Life. I think that is something that I was procrastinating on a lot prior to actually committing to it, because okay, of course, I mean, before that, I tried to track my calories on my own, and it was unsustainable, because I was actually quite bothered with the with the little things which I thought that was important, but it was not. So throughout when the session progressed, I stopped tracking my calories, because I am able to actually find a fixed diet that actually meets my goals, and that was actually quite effective for me, because I think less as I progress, and I'm just thinking less is actually quite good for my progress at this
Yes.
in this program. And when he actually bump up a few uh a few diet okay, when he actually changed up my diet a bit, I think it was actually not that hard to actually abide by lah, because it is actually not that major, at least in my experience. And it really shows, because the data actually shows how much you have actually gained. And I think also shows my body, because I've actually gained like around 5 to 7 kg, 5 kg in mass, 5 to 6 kg in mass lah, if I recall. When I started the program, I was around 67 kg. Now I'm around 73 kg, which is actually quite impressive, because in a year I've never actually progressed that much. I was quite skinny as a teenager, up for most of my time for most of my secondary school days and my JC days. I was actually quite skinny, and I think I only actually grew when I actually learned how to bulk. And Fit for Life actually kind of like even surpassed my expectations because I found new ways of actually committing to a diet in a sustainable manner. Yeah.
And that's super awesome to hear, man. So look, I think we want to wrap this up already. Taken up about 20 plus minutes already. Didn't realize it was that long.
Wow.
Um,
Okay.
yeah, but it's really been fun just learning more about your experience through the whole process. I guess what would that one piece of advice be? For those people who are currently struggling, like you were, when you first started. Like what was one piece of advice you want to leave them with?
I think everyone who struggles initially have different problems that they want to handle. I mean, there is no one advice to all problems because you need to actually understand what is the solution to your own problem. But I think the one that is important for me is to trust the process. For me, overcoming a pain is not something that I can just achieve overnight or maybe in a week. I think overcoming a pain is a process of actually learning what works for me, what not work, and what doesn't work for me. And related to that, I think for me, I think the most important learning point for me is that, and I wish everyone would actually know that your body isn't that fragile. It's really not because I think I'm of all people. I mean, I'm assuming that there are people who has more pain than me, but I think I'm in a good position to say that given all the bad conditions I have, your body is actually quite resilient as a mechanism to actually allow you to live life. So
Yeah.
to me, I think once you trust your body to actually achieve certain things, you can actually expect some transformation to come in the next few weeks or years.
Mm.
Yeah.
And that's really awesome, man. I think most people don't ever give themselves the chance, give their body that permission, right? In that sense, to let it really
Mm.
develop in the way that they actually want it to. So really awesome stuff there, Fikri. Thank you so much for coming on. I think we're sharing your wisdom as well. For those of you who are watching this still, if you have any questions, you can feel free to reach out to Fikri because he's tagged in this post to ask him more about his experience. I'm sure he'll be more than happy to reply to you when he can, depending on his busy schedule.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you also like some help, by all means, I can go over to our bio, can go to Fit for Life's Facebook page, can book in a call with us, and then we'll get you sorted out. Yeah. Thank you so much, Fikri, for coming on. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing more of your gains and seeing how more you can transform.
Yeah, I can post pictures soon, or maybe after this, or maybe I'll post some pictures like 1 year before and 1 year after. We'll let you
Yeah, I
have
think
it.
that'd be cool. That definitely will be cool. Because you only started with Earth this year, right? Which
Yeah,
was I think March, I believe around March or
earlier than
April. Oh, sorry,
around
no,
then.
earlier than March because yeah, that was Ramadan. Yeah, awesome stuff. Thank you so much, Fikri. I'll see you.
Okay, see you. Bye
Thanks everybody
bye.
for tuning in. Bye bye.